Okay, go ahead, Veronica.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the March 23rd meeting of the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I guess I will call this meeting to order. We have quorum with 6 members in the chambers and 5 members online, and 1 member excused. This is fantastic attendance. Thank you. I would love to start with brief introductions once again, since we have a new person or two once again, and I promise we won't do this every meeting. But let's go around the room, just briefly say name, pronouns, if you've got a relevant title, and max 1 sentence of anything else you want to add about how you're showing up today. But you can skip that if you like. My name is Veronica Pillar. I use they, them pronouns. I am a legislator representing District 2 in the city and chair of this meeting. And I am excited to have so many members present today. I'll pass it to Rachel.
I'm Rachel Asland. I'm also a legislator, District 16, which is Ulysses and Enfield, and I'm glad to be here. Oh, and she, her pronouns.
Taylor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay.
I usually make Jordan do this.
Okay. My name is Taylor Spencer, she, her pronouns, and I am the staff person today. And I'm feeling good, and I hope everybody else is too.
Irene Weiser from District Lucky 13, which is Caroline and Danby. She or they pronouns. And yeah, I'm glad to be here too. And we're in purple. Yay, purple. Okay.
Is that our official color?
Hi, Iris Packman, legislator from District 3, which is in the city of Ithaca, Bell Sherman, and South Hill neighborhoods. She, her pronouns, and I'm also showing up purple today. Used to work with SEIU, and they would say purple up because that was their color when they had any event. So kind of feeling like purple up.
Yes. Bit about the purple. The legislators know that the clerks for us, they print the meeting agendas, but we'll print them on different colored, for the different committees, different colored paper, which is very helpful for, I think, us to see at a glance what that's for. I imagine it's helpful for them too. And sometimes it has been a thing in a committee to be like, let's all wear whatever color is the meeting agenda paper color. And for some reason that's really blossomed this year. And we got a color, we're purple, lavender. Anyway.
Hi, my name is Chris Spahn. I'm the Executive Director of Tompkins County Workforce Development. I accidentally wore purple today. I didn't do it on purpose. I was feeling the plaid. It felt really good. Yeah. But I am supportive of this committee and the purple. So I'll be wearing that going forward. He, him are my pronouns. I'm very excited today because Mr. Leon Holden is here. So I've had the pleasure of working with him in several capacities. He was on the Tompkins County Workforce Development Board, and then he also is the chair of the Southside Board and then chair of the Diversity Consortium of Tompkins County. I'm also on those boards, so I've witnessed his leadership firsthand, so I'm excited for you all to see it, and I'm excited for this group to support him as he tries to make the county a better place for everybody. So thanks.
Rachel Graham, Deputy County Clerk. She, her pronouns. I did not wear purple today. I think I own 1 purple shirt, so I will wear that once a month. And happy to be here. Happy we have so many folks here present and on this committee. Thanks.
And good morning, everyone. My name is Leon Holden, and I am the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer for the county. I will be wearing purple from now on, now that I know that there's a code. I've been in this role for a week. I started last Monday, so finished a full week, and I came back because I love it. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to work with WDIC. Rachel and I had a meeting on Friday, so I was prepped for today. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I see some of my favorite humans on the screen. Hi, Nick. Hi, Jen. Hi, John. So yes, looking forward to working with you all, and let's go.
Awesome. And let's go to Zoom. Zoom folks, you'll have to name a next person to pass it to since there's no inherent order. Start with John.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. John Halichik, Assistant Director of 911 here at the Department of Emergency Response. My pronouns are he, him, and looking forward to another great meeting like last month. And Robert.
Hi, everybody. I'm delighted that I got the psychic fashion memo, purple today. All right. Happy to roll with that one. Matching outfits with coworkers is one of the simple pleasures. So Rob Brown, pronouns he, she, they. I am a community appointee constituent from North Lansing. I'm also the finance director for county affiliate Cornell Cooperative Extension, Tompkins County. And I'm going to pass it to Jen.
Hi, everybody. Jen Micah, she, her pronouns. I am a community member. I work at Cornell as the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the College of Business. I will pass it to Nick. And welcome, Leon. So happy you're here.
Thank you, Jen.
Hello. I am also so psyched to see you, Leon. This is really exciting. I'm Nick Bennett, he, him pronouns. I teach at Ithaca College. What were the other, were there any other things we were supposed to touch on? I'm blanking on that.
Optional sentence about how you're showing up today, but
okay, yeah,
no
why am I showing up? I've been a part of WDAC for maybe 3-4 years. The work is really important to me. Who else do we have? Is this
Lillian.
Eli Sachs? Yeah, who's that? I'm sorry.
Are you passing it off to me?
I am, yes.
Usually John passes it off to me, but he didn't do that today.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nick. So, Lillian Isaacs, ITS. My pronouns are she, them, Kit Kat, it. Hey, you. Not making fun of this. I think it's good, but I have a lot of them. That's all. So, why am I here? Because it's important to me, and also I've had to scratch my way for 40 plus years to get to the role I'm in now as a female. So it's important to me on many levels. I'm glad I'm here. I've been on the committee now going on year 2, and Leon +1 +10 for welcome aboard, sir. And all the other new people too.
Thank you, Lillian.
Awesome. And I think that's everybody. Thank you all. Changes to the agenda. I'm actually wondering if we could move, if people are okay with sliding the goals and priorities discussion to after most of the other stuff. Partly because it's maybe the most open-ended thing, and partly because, to be honest, I'm having a hell of a time trying to sign into my Microsoft account and look at my notes. But if, so, any opposition to that? All right. I don't have anything else for the chair's report. I did have one thing I forgot to tell anyone, but I noticed that the May meeting default date is Memorial Day, which is a holiday. So we are going to need to move that to a different day. And I don't know that figuring it out on the fly is the best way to do that, but we have another meeting in between then. Maybe Taylor, would you be able to make a note and find some possible dates the chambers are available? Yeah. Thank you. April meeting should be fine as normal. That was all I had there. Minutes approval. Could I have a mover for the minutes of February 23 as Irene moves? Rachel Graham seconds. Any changes, comments? Seeing none, let us have, we have to roll call vote everything, right? Okay. Do you want to call it?
Unless you want to.
Go for it.
Okay. Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Iris Packman, Irene Weiser,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Samantha Almendinger is absent, Nicholas Bennett,
Yes.
it was quiet, but it was a yes. Robert Brown,
That's a yes.
Rachel Graham,
Yes.
John Helichek,
Yes.
Lillian Isaacs,
Yes.
Jennifer Machka,
Yes.
and Chris Bond.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic. That's approved unanimously. All right, on to reports and updates. If y'all are ready, we have the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer section. So Leon, this is yours to do anything or nothing of what you want with.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I guess for clarification, the CEDO role does not report to this committee in the way that like departments report to different program committees. But obviously there's like, you know, a ton of crossover and shared mission between this committee and your work. So we have a standing spot for the CEDO on the agenda.
So.
To go however it goes.
Excellent. Thank you all. Obviously, as the months progress, I will have a better updated CEDO report once we meet. But today I just wanted to cover a couple of things. I just have 4 components that I want to cover really quick. Is this the whole DWIC body? Is this everybody?
This is everybody except for Samantha Almendinger, who's out today.
All right.
But yeah, and then we have 1 vacant seat, which hopefully we'll fill.
Okay. This is kind of like the spiel I'm going to give a couple of times until everyone has heard it, until I get through all of my committees and things of that nature. The first thing that I want humans to know that in my role, I'm going to do the best job that I can. I'm not the former CEDO. And so I don't want folks to look at me and think that I'm going to do the same things, whether that's good or bad. There might be some things that align, just because they align because it is an equity position, and some of those things should align. But I'm going to make this role my own, and I love to bring you all on the ride with me. There are going to be some folks who want to ride, and there are going to be some who don't, and that's okay. And so that leads me into my first thing, is that everyone's feelings are valid, no matter what they are. We don't control feelings, and so whatever that feeling is, it's valid. Whether it's happiness, sadness, anger, even if it's something not good, the feeling itself is valid. The actions are where we get into right and wrong. And so when we begin invalidating humans' feelings, that's when we run into problems. No one wants their feelings to be invalidated, and we shouldn't be doing that anyway as a race, as a human race. We should not be doing that. So that's one. The one thing that I want all of my internal collaborators to know is that I'm going to be advocating for you whether you're in the room or not. And it doesn't matter what room I'm in, I'm going to be advocating for you. I just want to make that clear. And I know it's going to take some time for you all to understand that and believe it, but take that with you for today. The third thing is that, and it's meant to be a little bit humorous, but it is actually true as well. By the end of this year, by the end of 2026 and going into 2027, 50% of you will love me and like me. 25% of you will like me but not love me. 20% of you will love me but not like me all the time, and that's okay. And 5% of you will not like me or love me, but you will respect me, and I'm okay with that as well. And the last thing is that I realize, based upon some of the conversations that I had over the past week, that I may have to do an extra job of rebuilding trust in the role with some folks, and I'm also okay with that too, right? No matter what new role I go in, the first couple of weeks and months is about me building trust with the folks, and so I'm more than happy to do that. That's what I love doing anyway. So, but please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions, concerns, if you have ideas, thoughts. I'm willing to collaborate all the time. Everything is a collaboration. So, if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, don't be afraid to reach out to me or just drop by the office and see me. But let me know you're coming because I have to let Ann know and they have to let security know. So it's a whole thing. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Leon. Any questions or comments for Leon? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
All right, Team Jedi update.
Yeah.
Rachel, co-chair of Jedi.
Jedi has not met since we last met. We are still working on finding a good day and time for everyone on that team. Kevin, the co-chair of Jedi, and I met last week with Leon. That was our first meeting, just to make introductions, talk about some of our goals, and make sure we're all on the same page. So over the next week or so, hopefully we'll figure out our new day and time that Jedi will be meeting, and we'll have our first Jedi meeting with Leon with us. That's what I have to report today.
Amazing. Questions or comments for Rachel about Team Jedi? All right, we are zipping through. Discussion items. Here we just have report or discussion on the recommendation to develop and adopt a comprehensive paid caregiver leave policy. Update on this. We had a resolution come out of this committee, make its way through Budget, Capital, and Personnel with some edits, largely for clarity, and that resolution was passed unanimously, right, by the legislature on Thursday. And Vice Chair of this committee, Iris Packman, you've been kind of leading that effort. Do you want to share any more about where we're at?
Yeah, it was great to hear all the legislators come out in support. I think there were 14. I think there were 2 absent, so I think all 14 voted yes. The next step is that a policy committee made up of, I believe, HR and the county attorney. I don't know, Leon, if you're part of that, or I don't know how if the CEDO is on that or not, but they will be working on creating a draft policy. I imagine there will be some options for us to discuss, because something that that the legislators discussed a fair amount, it seemed that there was some support for the idea of opting into the New York State program, which is going to be, would require, a payroll deduction. So I don't know. So the way the New York State program works, Leon, are you familiar with it?
A little bit.
Is that employees have 0.432% of their wages deducted, and they're sent to the states, essentially an insurance program. And then if someone needs to take paid leave, then they apply to the state and get 67% of their salary. Everybody has to have the payroll deduction if we were to opt into it, regardless of whether you take the leave or not. It's like a workers' comp, essentially. And then the question is, if we do that, then we need to get, the unions would need to vote in support of it, because it is a change to their pay, right? It's a deduction. There's options about whether the county would cover some or all of the employee costs. And then there seems to be support among the legislators, my sense from the meeting, for us to make up the difference so that people would get the full 100% pay. So even if, say, the employees did the deduction and then the state pays the 67%, I think there is support for us, the county, to fill in the last 33% so that people would be at their full salary for the 12 weeks. So we're going to be, I guess, reviewing policy draft options. Will they come to this committee first, Veronica? Or will they just go straight to BCP? Or
we can ask them to come to us. This committee is not like explicitly part of the pathway,
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we can advocate to be included.
I think that would be great. Another thing I want to discuss and look into a little bit more is looking at examples of whether, for parental leave specifically, for an employee who gives birth, whether that 12 weeks would start after they finish their disability leave for the actual physical recovery from giving birth, rather than running concurrently with it. I believe there's EEOC guidance on this, but I haven't checked on it in a few years, so that's just something I will flag for the county attorney too. It's a unique situation where you essentially could have sex-based discrimination potentially, so we want to look into that and make sure that that's fair.
And EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity
Commission. Yes. It's a federal guidance.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
It's like I can say the words, but then I don't know what level
Yes,
is
that
that.
is what it stands for. But I haven't, like I said, I'm not sure about that. So that's just a flag I'll put for the attorney to research. Because I think we want to make sure that people are given time to physically recover from their own, if there's any issues or complications, or just the fact of birth, and then also time to bond with a child, and rather than running those concurrently. Because a non-birthing parent would get 12 weeks, right, just for bonding. As someone who has given birth, I can tell you that it's not all just taking care of a baby, right? There's your own recovery. So that's something I wanted to just confirm. But it looks like there's a lot of support for it. So I'm excited that there's momentum. I don't know if anyone else wants to add.
Yeah, well, I see John's hand and then Irene.
Thanks, everybody. Just a couple of questions coming out of the legislative session. I did have opportunity to watch and listen to that meeting, and it seemed that there was a significant appetite for, if you will, doing cost sharing between applying to the state and having the 67% covered by them and then the remainder by the county. One of the things I'm not clear on is, one, in the if a county were to adopt and endorse the state model, for lack of a better way of expressing it, and is that singularly the way that provision is written at the state level, only about paid parental leave, or is it more encompassing to what we have arrived at as far as caregiver leave?
Right, so it covers 3 kinds of leave. It's care for a family member with a serious health condition, paid parental leave, and care for or support for a family member who has a loved one who's deployed in active military service. So it would cover all 3 scenarios. And the legislators seemed very supportive of the full spectrum of caregiver leave, not just parental leave.
Great. And then the other question that I have is, you had mentioned, eventually this would go to the unions. For those of us that are not represented by a bargaining unit, whether it be management, confidential, administrative, is there an opportunity that will come to us to express yay or nay on that, or is that just null and void by condition of our employment?
My understanding is that whatever the unions decide, management follows. And
So,
I don't think we get a
I'm
vote.
sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
I don't think we get a vote or a say, really. We just follow what the unions vote.
And the white collar union specifically.
Yes.
So I just have to say on its face, that doesn't seem equitable by having one unit voting in a way that may or may not be representative of the way another individual or another group of employees feels, for the record.
Thank you. I will pop in. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that I think there is a way, like if the county is going to implement some benefit-related provision that is just going to be consistent across all employees in the county, I think they can and that maybe doesn't explicitly conflict with a union contract. I don't know that that has to go through union negotiations, but maybe I'm wrong. Iris?
So if it's changing a cost to employees, then they would still have to bargain over that. If the county were to implement a 12-week paid caregiver leave policy that the county fully funded, that would not then have to go through the negotiations. But if we're then saying you're going to have a payroll deduction, then that's something that would have to be negotiated.
Okay, thank you. That's the distinction.
Yeah,
I did
and
not remember.
that is where there is some tension, right? If we recommend just fully paying the 12 weeks, which is what Ulster County did, they only did it for parental leave. I will say Shauna Black just shared an article that was like the 1-year anniversary of Ulster County's paid parental leave policy, and they did say in the article, Ulster County said it does not run into any budgetary concerns because an employee's pay has already been budgeted. The county determines how to fill the temporary leave on a case-by-case basis. In some instances, work will be temporarily shifted and overtime may incur for some positions. So just putting it out there, that is their position. So it'd be interesting for us to have that discussion. But it seemed like the overall temperature in the room was people would like to opt into the legislators' majority seemed like they wanted to opt into the New York State one as an option because of also the administrative burden of having to administer the claims, to evaluate people's applications, determine if you have in fact a qualifying health condition or your family member does rather, and then administering all that. I think there was a strong appetite for having the state that has a robust program already do that process, and then we could just kind of top up the 67% that the state would be providing. That 33% that we provided, that's not something the unions would have to vote on because that's just a benefit. But I think it's certainly a good tool or something positive to bring to the discussion, right? That the county is interested, if that is where we decide to go, that the county is interested in trying to top up so that there's really something that would be in addition to what employees would be paying.
Thank you. All right, I think I've got Irene and then Chris and then Rob.
Yeah, I just wanted to back up, and as we were talking about the support in the legislature, I think that a huge piece of that was the just really extraordinarily helpful educational memo that Iris wrote. That I think really, I know I learned a lot from reading it, and I suspect many of the other legislators did as well, so thank you.
Yes, seconding. She got really specific praise from the county attorney for it too. No, that's, yeah. All right. Oh, yes. Chris?
Yeah, so I wanted to say that the CEDO must be involved in those discussions we had mentioned. So I think that's a non-negotiable because we want this to be as equitable as possible and we have all perspectives in the room. And I also want this policy to be as welcoming as humanly possible. Actually, we had just hired someone. She's been with us for a month and she just had a child, so congratulations to her. But we also do want to make a welcoming environment for our employees when they come here. And I kind of experienced that, like going through the policies and kind of looking at how our current system is. So I think it's exciting that the legislator supports this and is willing to move forward with it because I think it's very important. If no one else is doing it, then no one else would do it. So if we do it, then people will see like, well, Tompkins County does this. So I think it's important that we also don't shoot for the floor, like we shoot for as high as we can go and then beyond the moon, whatever you want to say, because I think it's important. Like Iris brought up some important points about the challenges the mother faces too. And then, I mean, there's also breastfeeding guidelines that don't align very well with paid leave in America. So I think we should really look into all these different aspects too that are overlooked because mental health also plays into this too. We don't want people to come back burned out, leave, The cost of that, of finding a new employee also is even more expensive, and I don't like to look at it as like a data point or something, but the cost of that is so expensive to the county. So by just adopting sensible policies, I think that we can get in the right direction really fast. So I'm excited to hear about all this work, and thank you to Rachel and John and everyone else. I'm sorry if I'm missing anyone else who's involved in this, because I know there's a lot of people. So like, thank you to like everyone who actually believed in it and is actually pushing it forward.
Yeah, thank you. I'll top in the cost of replacing employees is I think a huge relevant factor here, and one that I would always, if we're just talking about budgetary issues that are not the most direct, explicit, like Iris mentioned in the Ulster County, that the people's salaries are already paid for, but yet there might be overtime or backfilling or something, the like more nebulous costs, then always we have to be thinking about the costs of replacing employees who leave or don't get hired, or make different, less stabilizing in employment terms decisions because of a lack of leave. Rob, and then Leon.
Yeah, as we move this forward, since it's implementing a new change to terms and conditions of employment, both contractually and morally, I think, of course, we need to uplift the voices of the bargaining units in this decision. But I will also say that, we're really only having this conversation because we're public. When we first implemented New York State paid family leave, what was it, 2017, 2018? I was pushing really hard for Tompkins County as a public employer to opt in from jump. The private sector employers don't have a choice. And I'm really pleased that we're going this direction finally.
Thank you. Leon.
Thank you all. Pacman, I just wanted to clarify, when you asked me the question earlier, I am familiar with paid family leave. I just wasn't familiar that it was a thing. I didn't realize that it was a thing that was happening, so I'm very, very grateful to hear that. I'm also happy to hear that we may even supplement with the 33%. Like it made my heart warm. Mr. Spahn, thank you so much for your comments. No matter what they say about you in the streets, you're a good human.
Excuse me.
I didn't catch that, what he just said.
No, I agree with you. I agree that I don't want to push myself into spaces, but I do agree that the CEDO should be involved from an equity standpoint. As a former HR director and a former director of equity, inclusion, and belonging, I want to make sure I say this the right way. I wasn't always welcome in spaces because humans knew what my stance was going to be, and so they tried to sometimes keep me out of spaces because they wanted to make decisions behind my back, and I'm just being honest about that because they knew what I was going to say. And so thank you for recognizing that, not just you, all of you, thank you for recognizing that there are spaces that I absolutely should be in, but please know that it's very rare that I'm going to force myself into a space unless I'm like, I should be in this space, and why am I not in this space? So I'm glad that these conversations are happening about paid family leave because, as you stated, Pacman, sometimes it's about obviously having the baby, but it's also about the recovery for all, for the birthing human and the non-birthing human. It's all mental and emotional and physical and all of these things all combined. And so I'm really, really happy that this is happening, and I'm glad that I'm coming in at the stage where it's just beginning to happen. So if you all need me or wherever you need me to be, I'll be there.
Fantastic. Thank you. I swallowed my coffee. I swallowed my coffee wrong. I'm not emotional yet.
It's okay to be emotional.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Anything else on Rachel?
I just want to third Leon being in on this one for the equity piece, and because the former CEDO did start working with the committee that worked on this, so it kind of started there, and so I think that should continue now that we have a new CEDO, and really any policy that's affecting the workforce. I had one other thing and now I've lost it. Oh, right. I'm curious about an expected timeline for policy, for the policy committee, if we have an idea, because I think someone had mentioned at one point putting a timeline for that part in the resolution, but I don't think that happened. So just curious about that timeline.
Rachel?
Is there a way that we can suggest a timeline that would make it so that we could have it in place for the budget cycle? I mean, I feel like we'd want to, it sounds like there's going to be some cost to the county. And so if we miss the deadlines for kind of getting it in by this fall, it seems like it could delay it unnecessarily. I don't know, working backwards from the fall, like when that would all need to happen, but sorry.
That is a great point, and I think that getting something done on a timeline that could match the budget process is a great goal. And I think maybe the next step would be, I don't know if anyone Iris, would you want to take the lead on just maybe emailing, like the county admin is going to be sort of runs the policy process and.
Okay, and Ruby and.
Yeah, and Ruby and Maury, yeah. Ask about timeline there.
Yep, will do. And I'm going to also ask about there's a couple EEOC issue questions that I'll ask. I mean, I don't know if I don't want to insert myself in the weeds where I don't belong, but if they want any legislator liaison to help with the policy drafting, I'm happy to do that, but I don't want to overstep, so.
Is there a bargaining timeline too that we'd have to work around?
Yeah. There are 2 contracts, I believe, up this year. I don't know when.
But you're on those committees.
I'm on the 2 of the 4, yeah, but not all the contracts are up this year, but this would be something that would have to be, yeah, I guess it would have to be adopted sort of in between. I mean, otherwise we'd have to wait years to implement it.
Can a union adopt a new contract before we've adopted it in our budget? Like, how would that, can they adopt a change to their pay before we've officially, probably not, because we would need to have, as a legislature, approved the new policy in the new budget? Or do we just approve a policy before the budget happens?
The policy approval doesn't have to go with budgeting at all, but if we need to budget funds for this, right. Which depending on the decision we might, then that needs to, that ideally would happen in the budget process, although you can always make amendments and allocations later. I suppose, I could imagine a situation where we make an allocation in the budget process into the contingent fund contingent on other negotiations. Although I'm kind of thinking out loud, the union negotiations are necessary if money that had been going into people's paychecks is now going to go into leave. Budget allocations explicitly changing them are necessary if money that had not been going into people's paychecks is now going into.
Well, that money would go
reserve,
straight to the state. So it doesn't, it's just a deduction from paycheck. So it wouldn't really affect our budget because we're still paying employees the same amount. It's just that some of that gets sent to the state rather than to the employee.
Right. But if we were topping up the 67%.
That would be additional. It's hard to quantify though, because we also don't know how much in savings we might get from reduced turnover, right? From retention.
Totally, yeah. But I'm gonna hop on a soapbox for one sentence. The budget lines and actual what is funded and whether we have more or less money are related, but not that related in my, budget lines are designed for the accounting to work out and not necessarily for a human understanding of where the money goes to work out, I think. John?
Yes. just two things. One, just as a general suggestion, I don't know if there are any enrollment constraints at the state level for when a participating municipality has to have its people, quote unquote, enrolled, whether it's simply, yes, we're doing this now and we'll forward the deductions to the state, or if they have a window of opportunity or they go by calendar year. So I would just suggest looking at that and seeing if there are any specific provisions as to how that works. And that may, if there are, I would suspect it's probably calendar year, and maybe you're talking about implementation 1 of 2027, just for the sake of discussions and how I envision they'll go across the county committees and then to the legislature.
That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, go for it, Leon.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Just piggybacking off of Rachel's comment for a minute, and having worked with collective bargaining units in the past, would this be like an addendum? Because I know it's maybe not a bargaining year for them. They might not. I don't know what year this is for them, but this might need some sort of like addendum to their bargaining contract if we are going to implement this and we're taking money out of their checks. Just wanted to put that out there.
Rob?
I'm just going to suggest that we're getting into the weeds on collective bargaining, and perhaps this committee is not the best place for trying to move that forward.
That is a good point. Also, has anyone in this room ever been part of a Tompkins County union negotiation process? Rachel has, okay. Add anything if you want, but I'll say, I never have
I'm back, but I'm supporting CSEA, yes.
Awesome. I was thinking, I don't know how the timing goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it was an interesting experience, and not the most fun. Hopefully it goes better in the future, but I felt there were certain people asked to be there, but not to really have a say. That was my experience, but I'm now have taken a position out of the union, so I won't have an opportunity to do that again anyway.
And now you're running for an elected position, which has been publicly announced. Great. Anything more on this? Irene?
Yeah, to the extent that AI is accurate on this, I just raised the question about was there a window of opportunity or a timeline? And one thing of note is that there needs to be a 90-day notice period to employees before deductions from their payroll can begin.
To clarify, that's not using AI, sorry, looking at the state website. It's 90 days for the non-represented employees to let them know that they will be having the deductions. There is a waiver for employees who don't qualify. Basically, people who work less than 20 hours a week or who work fewer than 26 consecutive weeks a year, so seasonal or part-time employees would be excluded. But for those represented, that would have to be bargained, and they must bargain for, they cannot bargain leave that would be less than what the state provides, so it can't be fewer than 12 weeks or less than 67% to submit to the state as part of opting in. So they can certainly bargain more than that, but they can't bargain less than that, or excluding people who otherwise would have been covered. So it's sort of a two-part bargain with the covered employees and then give a 90-day notice for the non-covered employees.
All right. Last call for paid caregiver leave comments. Thank you for this. I think we have some good appreciation and momentum and a few next steps. let's go back then to the committee goals and priorities. And I'm sorry I didn't have like a written thing ready for you. I will, other than the survey that you all filled out. Thank you. So I just want to run through some results of that. I will say this was super helpful for me to read, and hopefully it was somewhat helpful for you to think about. Oh yeah, and Leon, you probably don't have this, but I will send it to you after, unless someone wants to share it with him now. That's too much multitasking for me. But we had come up with, like 20 some possible things to work on in this committee this year, and sorted them into, or at least I'd rather suggest and put them into 3 categories. One of stuff that like this committee is basically going to do anyway by necessity, or we already started it. For example, pushing for paid caregiver leave was one of those items. And then several things we could potentially do that are fairly concrete, like a task with an end time or a naturally time-limited thing to engage with, and then several open-ended items that don't necessarily have an end time, or more of a like a topic to include more of or explore more of. And everyone, I asked folks to, for the non-given items, to say how high a priority do you think this would be, and then for all of them say like, do you definitely want to work on this, or are you open to it, or you'd rather leave this to others, which was I thought it was super helpful, especially when people responded very differently to like, I'm not interested in that, but I'm super interested in this. And other people had different interests, which like, of course is to be expected, but maybe harder to bring out in a meeting all at once. Anyhow, the given items listed were the Leslyn McBean Claiborne Strength and Diversity Award, onboarding and membership stuff, keeping track of heritage months and proclamations, paid caregiver leave, pushing that, onboarding our new Chief Equity and Diversity Officer, maybe we're a week behind, and department equity indicators, keeping up with those, because this committee is charged with hearing updates on that. And of those, we just talked about paid caregiver leave, and Iris, thank you for taking lead on this and being willing to continue with that. And I think that was the one where literally everyone else was open to helping with. Yeah. Okay, so that's one. Heritage months, no one was particularly interested in that but me, but thanks to those who are open to work on things as needed, we mostly keep track of proclamations, and I will work with the clerks to expand out the our calendar of these things, so we're not doing it at such the last minute all the time. I think we've already got, May is Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian Heritage Month. Maybe it's not Heritage Month. Anyway, but we've done a proclamation around that in the past, and that is already on our meeting agenda for April to talk about. As it's typical, we've maybe like tried to, at this meeting, put a possible proclamation on the agenda or call for, does anyone want to like work on this or have ideas to who to invite. These don't usually take up a lot of meeting time, but it is, I know that folks appreciate having these things acknowledged.
Veronica, I think perhaps I should just step up and say I'll tag team with you on this one. Cooperative Extension wants to start mirroring the county on this. So if I'm working on it with you, then I can be a more direct bridge.
Oh, incredible. Thank you. I will make a note.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Do we already have like a library of proclamations that have been used in previous years for each month?
I think not as such. All the previous proclamations are on our meeting portal, like where you can look up old resolutions and stuff. And I think looking up old proclamation text used to be broken, but I think it's unbroken now. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, anyway, forget that it used to be broken. And then I have a calendar of heritage months that, they're not all months and not all heritage, but similar things that we've celebrated in the past that I will send around to folks. And then personally, like for any given one, I'll usually just, sometimes I remember doing one, or I'll just search on the portal, like, what have we done previously? Okay, here. And
if you end up sending them to me, I'm happy to make a folder, like a shared folder, so that in the future, whoever's in these positions can kind of reference.
That would be amazing. Thank you. Love it. Okay. The Leslin Award, we had a little working group last year to come up with process and both form and also be most of the team selecting the award winners and then arranging, giving them out. That was a long time coming, but it worked, and we talked about establishing a working group for the 2026 award that can then just meet outside of these meetings and make that happen. Rob, you expressed interest in this. I would like to be honored as well. And some other folks were open to it. Is there anyone else who'd want to be on this working group?
I'm open to anything, wherever you need.
All right. How about here? That would be great. And maybe optionally one more person? You can do it. Are there rules? Yeah.
Sign me up then.
Yeah, all right. Heck yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Fantastic. All right. And we'll follow up with a meeting outside of this, and Rob and I can share what we did last year and how to go from that.
And when is the award given out?
Previously, it was like the last meeting of the year, the last legislature meeting of the year, or second to last, like.
It's toward the end of the year.
A legislature meeting, toward the end of the year. Yeah. So this is not urgent, and yet time always gets away from us. Onboarding and membership things. Yeah, Rachel Graham, you were interested in that. You essentially made the onboarding packet such as we have. And I also want to work on this. I don't quite know what the next steps are. Build that out, and then relatedly, we have one vacancy on this committee. So tell your friend, or tell not your friends to expand. Yeah, tell your enemies. No, I am kidding, but tell someone who you think is not already in all the same circles as someone already on the committee. Iris.
Do we provide anything for new employees or regular sort of annual reminders to current employees as a way to also let folks know about our existence and resources?
I don't think so.
Not that I know of, and I've talked to, is there still an onboarding committee, or is it just part of the engagement committee now, maybe? But I have talked to them about making sure that all county employees, when they are onboarded, that they know that we are a member of GARE, which is Government Alliance on Race and Equity, and that they can create an account on the GARE website with their county email. I don't know, did they do that at your onboarding?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So they are doing that
I don't know if
part?
it was just because it was me. It wasn't like the whole room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were
That's
you
what
onboarded like with other incoming employees in a group? Okay.
Okay,
So
so
that's
maybe
a
I
good
should talk
idea.
to them again, because a lot of county employees don't know that is a resource to all county employees. And I think it would be good when they talk about that to also talk about JEDI and WDIC. Yeah.
I'm curious for the employees on this committee, why did you choose to join this? How did you hear about us, and why did you choose to join the committee? Because, you know, that could also help us think about recruitment.
I can share. So I joined in 2019. I was kind of pulled in by former Deputy County Administrator Amy Hendricks, who was working on the 2018 Workplace Climate Survey. And she went out looking for employees to join a committee to review those survey results. And then we kind of did an overview of the results and then broke them into categories of areas that needed to be, like improvements needed to be made and recommendations needed to be made to make improvements in those areas. And I chose to work on the diversity and inclusion area with a group of other employees. And that's when we came up with our recommendations to join GARE, add the CETO position, and create Team JEDI. And in that process, we brought our recommendations to WDIC. I had already been an employee at that point for like 14 years, I think. And I didn't know WDIC existed, so that's how I got looped in. And they were recruiting members, and Leslin said, you know, you should join WDIC. And so that's how I ended up here.
Thank you. Yeah.
I guess I'm next,
and Team JEDI didn't. I spaced out for a sec. Team JEDI didn't yet exist at that time.
No.
Right, because it was coming out of the process that.
Yeah,
Amy was leading.
we originally had two recommendations, that we join GARE and that we create the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer position. And then as we got into researching GARE and what GARE recommended having a core equity team across the organization. And so that's when we decided to start Team JEDI.
Thank you. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry. So why I joined JEDI and WDIC, was that the question? Yeah, so actually JEDI and the equity work of the county was part of why I actually came to Tompkins County government. So I was interested in working with the county government that was also working on equity work in one way or another. So I had come in July 2022, so I think we were still working towards equity and things like that. The world was changing, so I thought it was important to continue the work. So found out about JEDI when I got here. I don't know from who, maybe Rachel, who knows. Maybe at my orientation, I really cannot remember. I just knew it was going on, and people that I aligned with similarly in values were also part of it too. And then there were some new people that I had wanted to meet too. So I think JEDI is great because you're able to meet other county employees you otherwise would not meet. Like you have frontline staff, mid-level management, directors, just people from all over the highway department. Well, actually, I don't know if there was highway. Yeah, there is, yeah. So, and my department, Rachel's department, so it's really all over the place, which I think is really cool. It's a great place to come up with ideas, focus on what are the issues at hand. So I also think it empowers a lot of employees. One of our new new staffers from a couple years ago joined, and it really impacted them, and it really gave them a space to grow in that area too. So I think that's something that we can use as a recruiting tool too, is there's a younger generation too that wants to change the world and be ambitious, and you can still do that through government. So that's something that that group does. And WDIC, I had heard of it, and to be honest, I knew that it was doing great work, but I wasn't fully sure what exactly it was tasked with doing, because it seems like it can go all over the place. There's a lot of different areas. So I talked with Shauna Black, and then she had recommended that I join also. So that was kind of my kick in the butt. So like, I think it's all about prioritizing. We can say that we're busy with stuff, or I'm on this, I have this and that to do, and like, I'm very busy right now, but I think it's important. So that was my goal for 26, is to really prioritize this. Like, JADI isn't enough for me. Like, I want to continue to do the work and move forward with it, because we are also in like a time of peril with no CETO and waiting around what's going to happen next. So I think it's a good time to be involved too with a new CETO and a fresh start going forward also. So that's why I joined as a county employee. Hope that answered it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Rachel.
For the open seat, does it have to be an employee, or is it a community member seat?
It can be anybody. The open seat is undesignated. Yeah. Yeah.
County employee when he joined, and
Yeah, right, yeah, optionally, John or Lillian or Nick, do you want to share why you joined? Because I don't know if folks heard, yeah, Nick was a county employee at the time that he joined WDIC, and then we are so glad that he stayed here after leaving the county.
Yep, and I was actually, I inherited the like chair role of the former Jedi subcommittee that was accessibility. Oh my gosh, I'm like, what was it? I think they've changed, but accessibility was the big piece of that subcommittee, and I inherited that from the former chair of it, who is leaving in our department. And I, through Jedi, learned about WDIC, and yeah, even after moving on from my county employment, I was sad that I couldn't still be part of Jedi, but it was fantastic that being part of WDIC, the community openness, I think is really, really important for the work that we do, and I'm just really, really happy to still be part of it.
Thank you. Lillian or John? Lillian, I see you're both off mute. So.
I joined because John was on it. I'm just kidding. But actually, it didn't hurt that John was on it. But I saw that John was on it. I started looking at it, and then we got the invitation by email. That's how I heard about it.
Okay, but now wait, you joined at the same time, though. Didn't you two join at the same time?
We did.
Well, I heard he was. It was kind of a John's joining. I better join. No, really. I got the email letter inviting people to apply, and I read through it. And I thought that sounds like a neat committee, and I'd like to be on it. So that's why I got on it. Now I'm going to hand it over to John.
For myself and those of you, many of you that were on the committee at the time, Veronica had asked this question when we first joined, and I shared a somewhat lengthy story about my journey, and I had worked going back now in the late like 2008, 2009, I was still working in the state of Florida for municipal government, and there was a change in leadership, and they were not diverse, they were not equitable, and they were not inclusive. And based on a set of comments, it really set me on a journey for almost a decade that ultimately led to Tompkins County. That journey came at great cost and great expense, both personally, financially, and other conditions. And when the opportunity presented, for me, it was, I've lived firsthand what not having a committee like this could allow to creep into an organization. And frankly, nobody should have to go through what I experienced professionally. So that was my motivation to join.
Chris.
I had a follow-up from Nick's comments. So Nick, it was called the Access and Equity Committee. I'm going through my teams. So yeah, you were a great chairperson back in the day. So we had,
Thank you.
There was also the Communications Committee, Data and Analysis Committee, Professional Development and Education Committee, and then I guess just general JEDI. So yeah, I have all that in the archives if you're interested, Mr. Holden.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah. And I think something that I think Lillian alluded to, I know at some point, maybe a couple times over the years, we've had either a press release go out to the community and or email go out to staff being like, hey, there are open seats on the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Please join if you like, which I think we could do at any time. In the past, we've done that when we've had multiple vacancies and been like, we need people. At the moment, we have one, so like we're not in dire straits or anything, but obviously full seats are preferred. Yeah. Awesome. So I think this idea of the sort of not just onboarding to WDIC, but like what do we do diversity and equity related for new employees in general is interesting. I would love to, I don't know that this needs to be or I don't know if this should be a working group or anything, but I would love to meet about it offline at least once. I'd love to be there. Rachel, Graham, you wanted to work on that. Leon, I don't know if you want in.
I want in all the things.
You want on all the things, okay, yeah.
All the things.
And Sam is not here, but she was open to this, and I'm gonna assign her anyway, because that seems appropriate. I'm blanking on her title, but she is the like employee training and something coordinator in HR.
She's the County Training and Development Coordinator.
County Training and Development Coordinator. Thank you.
Does a very good job also. So just as a note, anything that had been mentioned earlier from Iris, she's very receptive to any idea that is thrown out there. She's basically followed through on everything the past year of any feedback that I've given or anyone else really in any of these engagement groups.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, from all accounts, she's fantastic and fantastic in that role. And it's great. I think that role itself is new and it, from all accounts, it's very good that it exists and we can have someone like Sam to devote all her energy to the county-wide training and development. Okay, the last couple given items, onboarding the CEDO. Hello. There were 6 people, so nicely just shy of quorum, who said they definitely wanted to work on this. And I wonder if that was me, Sam, Rachel Ostland, John, Chris, and Rob. And then I'm wondering if us and Leon could try to get together to have a meeting sometime to, not to tell you what to do with the position, but to be like, here's where we left off.
Absolutely.
And then,
a blueprint, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a living
Yeah.
document. It can change.
Right. And I think that was one, and I know, Rachel, you and Kevin from Jedi had shared a bunch of notes on things you thought were important. And I know the previous CEDO also, like, had expressed one thing that, that she wanted. And we were like, what do you think the new CEDO might, like, what would be helpful? One thing that she expressed was, like, make sure they know, like, where we got to, and then to blossom from there. Yeah.
I think that would be great. Rachel, Kevin, and we're still working on availability, but we're going to set up a standing meeting for the three of us just prior to Jedi meetings, so we can always be on the same page. And I'd love to set up a meeting with you all so we can figure out where you all got to before the former CEDO left, and then where we're trying to get to, so we can also be on the same page before WDIC meetings. It would work great for me.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. And if you're up for it, I would be interested in a standing meeting before WDIC meetings. Yeah.
Definitely with it.
And
I love a standing meeting, just so everybody knows. I love a good standing meeting.
Oh my God, I also love a good standing meeting. Okay, yeah.
Because it's easier to have it on the calendar and cancel it if you need to, than to keep trying to figure out the day and time we're going to meet. And if it's standing, it's on the calendar, so people should know.
I like that, yes. Thank you. All right. And last thing, department equity indicators presentations. We had heard a few, which was great. Actually, the previous CEDO was the main, like, connector between this committee and departments around that issue. But I do want to get back to having this committee as a place for departments to share about their equity indicators and get support. I know Rachel Ostland and Iris also said you wanted to work on this. Leon, you were going to be part of this no matter what.
Absolutely. Right, I don't have a choice. The one thing that I do want to run past you, because I did have a couple of meetings last week with a couple of department heads. I sent out just a general email to them all, just saying, like, I'm in the building, and I know that things are happening. And I also had a meeting with my administration team, with me, Corsa, Bridget, Norma, and Monica wasn't there that day, but we will follow up. This is the one thing that I'm going to say, and I just want you all to take it with a grain of salt, and we're all going to figure it out. What I want the department heads to know is that I know that in the past, a human may have come in and dictated what those equity indicators are for that department. I don't necessarily work in that way because I'm not in the department, so I can't tell you what your department equity indicators should be. We have a list of them. We have an all-encompassing thing. What I would like to do with the department heads is I'd like to go through the list with them and have them let me know what are the ones that take priority, and we'll handle those first, and then we'll work our way down. I don't feel I don't want to come in as a new human telling them what they should be doing after they just got finished going through that. I would like to be able to build trust with them and figure out what they feel, because they're the department heads and they're also the department. They are also humans and they know what works for them and what they need. So I'd like to approach it from that way. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in any processes that you already have in place, but I'd like to try something different with them and build their trust and make it different. If they feel like they're part of the process and not being told what to do, it's more likely that they'll participate in a more successful way. We agree, Rachel? Yeah? Thank you, my love.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I know that, at least you know what I heard of the equity indicator development process before, which I was not in. Although, by the way, you know, a department-ish that doesn't have equity indicators is the legislature, and I would love to visit that at some point. Yeah.
That would be 16 humans of fun.
Even worse than it would have been last. No. But yeah, that would be great to discuss. but I know as I heard it framed, it was like, okay, the CETO is there as a diversity and equity in like institutions and organizations professional to come with that lens and expertise to assist department heads in developing indicators, because the CETO and, you know, for most departments also, county administration is not an expert in whatever it is that department does. So then they can come forward. And the ones we've heard from, it's been like, from my perspective, I'm not an expert in any of this, and it's just been really interesting to hear what the folks have picked out in their work to focus on. And it doesn't need to be like the biggest equity issue in their work, but just a thing where it's like, here's where we can move a needle. And that's been great. And one thing that like the previous CETO emphasized, and I would also want to emphasize to departments, is this committee is not here to like judge or evaluate what they're doing, but to learn and support if we can. And honestly, at this point, a lot of learning, like I want to know what's going on, so I can get a better sense of it. Yes, okay. So I think I would maybe start, if that's okay, with just a offline meeting with the four of us, Rachel and Iris and me and Leon, to look at a system for equity indicator reporting going forward. All right.
And just as an aside, I'm still going through all of the former CETO's files and things of that nature. I spent the majority of last week making sure I got my Noble 4 trainings in, because I didn't want to go into the second week with those things done. So those are all done. All my trainings are done. So I can spend this week kind of sifting through what she had there, and I just want to put that out there.
Awesome, thanks. I assume there's a lot. Yes. All right. So next category with the concrete items of could do, a reasonably clear priority order fell out of what you all shared. The top four in order, top one by far was the climate survey, followed by engaging with the countywide minimum wage study, reviewing our county's living wage employer status, and then reviewing protected classes within Tompkins County government. So the climate survey, I had Sam, Rachel, Iris, and Chris definitely wanted to work on this. And I am open to suggestions on how to structure this committee's involvement. I think this is going to be a project out of county administration. I do not know if anyone knows if any movement has begun on it yet this year, but I'm not really aware of any. Okay. What should we do? Yeah.
I know that Larry has mentioned being interested in the climate survey, and I don't know if it starts in administration and then goes to HR, but if he has insight into that too.
I'm sorry, I forgot. The engagement committee met last week too. And so we talked about possibly putting out another one, but I want to be careful about doing that, because we don't want employees to think that we're just having them complete surveys just to complete surveys all the time. I want to make sure that and it was really great because Samantha went through the entire survey and we talked about each individual question and the answers and the percentages. I thought it was great. We want to do a different one with some follow-up questions that pertain to the ones that were answered in specific ways, but I was told them I want to be cognizant and I want to be careful about throwing out surveys one after the other without being informational and communicating with the collaborators on what we're doing and what was the result of the last thing that we did and how we're moving, as Veronica just said, the needle, even if it's in minuscule increments. We need to make sure that we're not just giving them surveys just to be giving surveys.
Yeah, of course. I see John and then Irene. Can I ask a clarifying question? Was Sam talking about the previous workplace climate survey from 2018, or was she talking about the workplace wellness survey that like just happened? Okay, it was the wellness survey that just happened. That makes sense. John. Yeah.
Yes, I'm part of that committee as well, and so just looking at the items that are listed out here, as we had discussed in the engagement and retention meeting, items 14 and 20, they do have functional overlap, and I think one of the things that we arrived at is that what has been done as far as the wellness survey may have functional overlap with the overall climate survey. And depending on how that overall climate survey is structured, the wellness piece may be a subset of questions in the overall survey in general. If I recall correctly, and anyone that was there, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Larry and Samantha had indicated that the climate survey had been handed off to whoever is going to develop the overall survey, and that's about where we are on the climate survey at this point in time.
By whoever, do you mean like a third-party contractor or some?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kaleidoscope.
Okay.
I don't think it was Kaleidoscope this time round. I think it's another corporation or company that does these things, but the name escapes me.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, I've got Irene and then Chris and then Iris.
So I'm confused by what just got talked about. So has there already been engaged a consultant company that's doing this survey? And
this is what I may be just learning. It was, and we discussed this in this committee like last year, the need for a consultant or some third party outside the county to do the climate survey, I think was clear and agreed upon, mainly for the reason of you can't unbiasedly evaluate your workplace climate from within it, and secondly, to add a layer of anonymity so that people, like employees, will feel more comfortable, hopefully feel more comfortable reporting more honestly answers to the questions. But John, are you saying that some particular company has been engaged?
I thought that's what we were told. Again, I don't remember the name of that company or where the interaction, whether it be through HR or admin or a combined effort with that third-party company that's going to put together the survey is at. I would suggest it's probably a better question for Ruby.
Makes sense. I will ask Ruby after this.
And so one of the things I'm wondering about is, are these surveys, just standalone, take them at their face value, or are we trying to look between a previous one and a new one, what level of change may have happened? And if so, it seems like there would be need for some kind of consistency, both in the company that's providing it. Certainly you want to review the questions, review the answers, see if there was ambiguity, and the way this question was phrased, it's hard to know what people really mean. But also if it's been long enough, I don't know how much staff turnover there's been since the last one, and to what extent, looking back 6 or 7 years or 8 years, if there's been, 20% staff turnover in that period of time, how accurate is it to compare them anyhow? So I just toss these out as thoughts, but if somebody's already been engaged, then it may be already moving forward, so,
It has been 8 years. I do think maybe a good thing to have at some upcoming WDIC meeting, even though we've done it before, would be a presentation from anyone who feels comfortable on the previous climate survey from 2018 and what ensued, like what were the results and what ensued from the results, which is a lot. And I know that we've heard this at this committee before, but a ton of new legislators, new CETOs, some other new staff.
I'd be happy to find that meeting and share the recording if that's helpful.
That would be great, yeah.
Because I do remember, I can't remember who came in. I think it was Lisa.
I
before
think Lisa
left.
Holmes, yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we could all watch that and have a follow-up, like, little summary presentation discussion.
Was there a written report as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so if we can find that and send that around.
Yeah, there's a written report of like the survey results and then some more reports of like in like 2021 as late as spring 2022 of like here has what has been happened as a result. Fabulous. Okay, so I guess we have a couple next steps about that. Catching up on the previous survey, find out where we are on the current one. And this, I mean, I think the climate survey definitely warrants some, offline group work. I'm not going to suggest creating a working group of this committee now because I don't know how it integrates with other, with admin and other entities in the county working on this, but we will find out. Okay. Oh, but sorry, I had a whole queue of people. My bad. Chris, Iris, Leon.
Hi. So before this, I was in Pinellas County as a local ICMA local government management fellow, and I was at Pinellas County, Florida, so that's the Tampa Bay area, and they do a survey called the Employee Voice Survey, and they do it every other year, and they prioritize that. So on their website, they have the actual survey, so I'm just going to run through it really quick. They ask questions like, how likely or unlikely are you to recommend working for Pinellas County to someone who asks? And it goes by like questions about your department, like is it a respectful atmosphere, maintaining a work environment that is free of harassment, opportunities to develop a career path, and then it talks about your county executive leadership. What's the clarity of their strategic direction, goals, and objectives? Is information being communicated? Then there's some open-ended questions, and also on their site they have an executive summary, and then they also show accomplishments that they've had from these surveys, so they split it by department. I'm just making up something right now, but for example, this department communicates this thing more clearly. So I think that's an area that we should explore also. Just want to put out in the universe because this could take 30 minutes to talk about, and it's confidential. I was on the back end of looking at the data of like who was filling it out. So you would see differences though by race, gender, position that they had, of like how people felt. So certain people of a certain race felt differently, certain gender felt differently. So I do think from an equity perspective, we could like also tie that into an employee voice survey. So we were able to pull a lot of different stuff from that survey in of itself in like creating a more inclusive environment. So that was also in Governor DeSantis's Florida, so we were still able to do these different things and still accomplish what we needed to, not up front, but still do different things like that. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there too. And I can connect us with the Pinellas County people. Also, if someone wants to talk to them about it, I'm deeply connected there. So I just wanted to offer that to the group or whoever also.
Awesome, thank you. That is helpful. Iris.
Thanks. I was curious if we have this in the budget already to do this. Okay, awesome. And I was thinking maybe some of the questions we ask, we could also tie into the paid caregiver leave that we're looking at. We could ask folks about, have you, had a situation that could have qualified, based on sort of these scenarios, would it have helped if you could get this, sort of give ourselves some data for that as well, which would also potentially help with budgetary projections of, percent of workforce in a year, maybe who could, or in whatever time period we're asking them about, who might take advantage of it. It's certainly something some data we would have, because I know it's really hard for us to estimate how much it could cost.
Yeah, awesome. Leon.
Oh, I almost forgot. Oh, I just wanted to piggyback off what Iris said about the comparing of the two surveys. I think that's really important, again, because if we're just having humans fill out surveys to fill them out and we don't plan on doing anything with them, I'd like to not do that. To Pacman's point, and this is what I wanted to say earlier, and it kind of ties in with budget and things of that nature. The climate surveys are very important because we don't recognize, or a lot of humans don't recognize, how much it actually costs when we turn over an employee. It could be about $13,000 per employee. That's a lot of money that we're wasting. So we need to focus more on retention and try to decrease turnover as much as we can. And so that's where the surveys are coming in and are very important, because when the humans take the time to fill out those surveys, I think we should really, really recognize that they've taken the time and that the things that they're saying are actually their experience here in the county and in their specific role in their department. And that's one of the ways that we can decrease turnover and actually save the county a lot of money. So I just want to put that out there. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else about the climate survey right now?
Just from this discussion, I'm wondering if our poor, long-suffering clerks would be willing to send out the prior reports to members so that we can either refresh or catch up.
I can ask.
Great, thank you. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Taylor. By the way, since we're not going to get through exploring every topic today, I will say on the open-ended items category, the priority order was less clear, that not as much of a spread, but I think the top priority thing that came up was discussing workplace wellness, emotional health, and mental health in conjunction with the Employee Engagement Committee, as has already come up in this discussion. So that is definitely something to circle back to. Maybe we could start with some a little crossover presentation from the committee. I know there's shared members between there and here. We can talk to Sam about that. Backing up though, the priority below the climate survey was engaging with the countywide minimum wage, discuss and engage with the countywide minimum wage study, which is about to start. Biggest thing here is that if folks don't know, tomorrow evening there is an event, a kickoff event for this study. It is, quick, if you don't know, the legislature has hired a academic consulting team to research what would be the effects in Tompkins County of raising the minimum wage. Exactly how is that would be part of the study, but it'll be some just kind of academic data analysis and a lot of stakeholder convenings and listening sessions with various groups around the county. The kickoff meeting, open to all. I think all the convenings are open to all, they just have different focuses. But it will be Tuesday, March 24th, that is tomorrow, from 6 to 8 p.m. in the conference room at Tompkins County Whole Health, 55 Brown Road in Ithaca. There is, registration is requested. I don't think you'll be turned away if you don't register, but you can find a You can find links on the county website or on the Tompkins County Worker Center website. I saw also shared this out, and the Worker Center, I think, is trying to arrange carpooling up there if people need it. Will they have childcare? Great question. I do not know. I will find out. I did not see that.
I know that was the goal, but I didn't
Okay.
see it on the invite, so I wasn't sure if there was childcare.
They arranged it.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. There will be catering, it says. So that's cool. So definitely please come to that if you can. And then I see Rob and then John.
All right, so private person, Rob Brown, has been involved in this issue for decades before the county commissioned this study, and I'm very much involved still. And Cooperative Extension, Rob Brown is representing my association within the working group supporting the ILR CoLab, just because practical research in community and economic vitality is actually an assignment for Cooperative Extension from the state of New York. So we're not doing the study, we're supporting the CoLab in getting a wide community participation in the study. So since two versions of me are already involved in this up to the nines, should it serve the interests of this group, I'd be more than happy to represent WDIC in the mix too.
Oh, thank you. John, and then Iris.
Yeah, so last year, I recall us discussing this topic, and it was a spirited discussion. There were, I think there were a number of different opinions. My question here is, would it be feasible to have the group that is putting on the presentation on the 24th specifically come to this committee for the purpose of engaging in discussion? I would prefer everyone to receive the same information in the same time, in the same way, and engage it accordingly, rather than us going as individuals and then everybody has their own takeaways. I just think that's a more objective way of doing it, and then we as a committee can discuss it further.
I think that's a good idea. Open to what other people think. I can certainly ask.
My understanding is that Ian Greer, the lead researcher, will be doing a presentation to the county legislature. So that'll be a public meeting. So it might be more that I think he'll be doing sort of a midpoint presentation and then a final presentation, and once all the convenings have happened. So I don't know how much more is in the budget in terms of his time, but if those will be public and those will be recorded, so we could start with that if that feels like that would address it, and obviously the presentation materials as well would be shared.
John?
Yeah, although I do appreciate the, the financial component here, I think moving the discussion to the top of the legislature rather than having the conversations at the committee level and then ultimately arriving at the legislature is kind of the tail wagging the dog. So I'd rather, if possible, it exists at the committee level and then go up to the legislature, not the other way around. And the only reason I say that is we may have more committee-aligned questions than what overall will come out in a legislative session, which obviously is a much broader base of Q&A and focus.
I believe
in this conversation, I'd like to make sure that we all in our minds have the difference between the academic study currently kicking off tomorrow and any policy decisions that may flow from it.
And I believe that he will also be reporting to BCP committee, if I recall Deborah mentioning. Is that right? I think that, I
don't
think he
remember.
will be talking to BCP, so it will go to the committee, but there's, as to Rob's point, this is not designed to create policy. This is simply a study to understand community perspectives on the concept of raising the countywide minimum wage. There's not like a direct policy outcome at this point so far.
But ultimately the end goal would be something taken up by the legislature to exist within the county and would be an administrative policy, correct?
Potentially.
There are other questions.
It would not.
I mean, I don't think anybody's engaging in the conversation just for the sake of the conversation. There's an end goal here.
Sorry, if something were to be taken up by the legislature on this topic, it would not be an administrative policy. It would be a local law, like changing the minimum wage across the board for county employers, with whatever exceptions.
For private sector employers in the county. So it would also require legal analysis and potential approval from the state to do so. So this would be down the road a bit.
Okay.
I do think at that point, like post the study, it would make sense to have a targeted discussion in this committee with study results. Chris.
Hello again. So I've been talking with Dr. Ian Greer. I don't know if it's Ian Greer or Dr. What does he go by? Ian, yeah. So we were talking about these groups that are meeting in a couple. Mm-hmm. So I think there's probably going to be at least 10 of these convenience, and he was being strategic in like who's in those meetings. I do think he was still road mapping how those were all going to look, because I gave him some recommendations on a group. Like I had wanted one specifically just around youth employment in our area and the impact it could have on that specifically. Obviously, I probably don't think that's going to happen because there's so many different issue areas, but I can definitely like throw it out to him in a follow-up email that this would be a group of interest. I'm not.
Although that is a specific issue that was mentioned in the RFP.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. I hadn't read the RFP actually, so good to know. Yeah, so I do know that's being worked on for future dates in the spring too, but I could definitely shoot him an email after today meeting.
Thank you. I do wonder for scheduling around the study if it also would make sense I know at least certainly some of us are going to tomorrow's convening, and I haven't talked to Ian in a minute, but I would bet that some further logistical information will be shared there.
And as members of the committee and people with our own networks, I will also say, this is currently, the ILR collab led by Ian are now conducting the study, which will include community stakeholder information gathering sessions, these convenings. And one of the things that I have been thinking that the members of this committee can most contribute to the quality of the research is making use of our networks to make sure that community stakeholders and constituents of diverse communities feel aware in the first place that these are happening and feel empowered to participate, so that a fully representative cross-section of our county communities participate in supplying data for the research. Because if we have communities and populations who just don't participate, they will be invisible to the science other than through aggregate data for like a population census level type stuff. So in order to meet our committee's goals, we need to make sure that our neighbors are participating in the science.
That is a good point, Rob. Thank you. And that might be a good moment to move to the next very closely on the priority list was a related but different goal, which is to review Tompkins County's status as a living wage employer, which again is still wages, but it is a different thing. And that now we are talking about only the county as an employing organization, and if any directive or policy were to come out of that, it would be at the administrative policy internal level. And for this, a bunch of people said you were interested in working on this. Thank you. Iris, you were interested in taking the lead on exploring this.
Okay, great.
Which I appreciate. I don't know if you or anyone has an idea of first step for this. Obviously, I think some dedicated time on a future committee agenda would make sense.
Can you state anyone else who is interested in being part of it? Because I feel like Samantha would be really helpful, at least with access to data and that kind of thing.
Sam was willing to participate, so were Lillian and Rachel Graham, but they definitely wanted people who were definitely interested, me, Nick, John, Rob, Irene.
Oh, that's great.
Which is a solid group of people. So one thing we could do is spin off a little working group, even if it only meets once.
Do we have any quorum concerns, or are we allowed to do that?
Well, if it's 6 people is not a quorum of this committee.
Okay.
Yeah. So 6 and under, no quorum concerns, I guess, unless we manage to collect a quorum of a legislature committee with 3 of us legislators, which I think would not be easy. I don't think we're quite overlapping enough. But I see John's hand.
Yes. So as far as items 18 and 19,
can you remind us what those are? Because I don't have that list.
Sure. So 18 talks about the minimum wage study and 19 talks about the living wage. Does it get complicated if you are trying to determine what living wage is, and then simultaneously there are other discussions going on with respect to minimum wage, and one of those numbers comes out higher than where the other group wants to land? And let's say living wage was to come out higher than what people were thinking about minimum wage. What I'm concerned about is if you have 2 separate work groups or subcommittees working on each topic, is there potential for them to be contradictory to each other?
I hear that, but I'm not worried about that, because I think that the calculation of the living wage gets done different ways, but its existence has been pretty stable for years. The living wage concept that the Tompkins County Workers Center certifies living wage employers based on a number that they get from, and it's changed where they get it from. Now it's calculated by the ILR CoLab. It used to be calculated by AFCU. In parallel, MIT maintains a living wage calculator that is not what the Tompkins County Workers Center uses as their number, but I think they do keep track of it, and it tends to always be somewhere close, if not a little bit higher. So I don't think that where the living wage number is at is a big topic of debate at this time. I think that whether Tompkins County should have a commitment to sustaining living wage employer status, I would say as defined by the Tompkins County Workers Center, that is a topic. It could be a topic to explore. Do we want to forget the Workers Center definition and go off in a different direction? I'm not hearing a ton of energy for that. I'm personally not that interested in redefining living wage. But I think that what should the living wage number be? There's a methodology that's fairly well set. Then in the minimum wage study, the like possible proposals may or may not involve minimum wages that are anywhere near to what anyone might call a living wage. That's completely open-ended, but I think in that context, the number calculated for a living wage and the concept of a living wage is just like a piece of the background motivation for doing such a study at all, but it is not being held as a target, like maybe we're gonna set a minimum wage at the living wage. Maybe that's where this goes, but I can say that there has been repeated pushback from that idea being even on the table from legislators every time it comes up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you arrive at a living wage through that calculation, and I'm just gonna use round numbers here. Let's just say that the living wage for 2027 was calculated out at, just say, $28 an hour. And the minimum wage at the end of this study was calculated out at, let's just say, $25 an hour. I guess the part that I have a problem understanding and reconciling is in my head is that if we have one set of parameters that are saying this is what you need to make to live within Tompkins County, and you have another set of parameters saying this would be the calculated minimum wage, and the living wage exceeds the minimum wage, what does that discussion look like? Because to me, it sounds like you're saying two different things that are running at loggerheads to each other. And that's ultimately what I'm getting at here.
Iris?
Well, I would say that there's always been a discrepancy between the minimum wage and the living wage. If we have a working group to look at the living wage employer certification question specifically, I have a very long history of having once been involved in evaluating and calculating based on cost of living data. So I could tell you inside and out how the living wage study works. I haven't been a part of that directly since 2019, but I know the methodology upside and down. I could run everybody through it.
And I think helpful to clarify is that the committee that we're discussing, Tompkins County as a living wage employer, would be specific to the county as an employer, whereas the minimum wage discussion is about all private and public employers in the county. So on the one hand, it's setting a floor for everyone in the county who employs, and the other is internally, what are we saying is our minimum standard as an employer? I think part of that is just the amount of control and momentum, right? As a county, as an employer, we have more ability to make that change happen. Obviously, there's budgetary parameters, but the county, as I understand it, has been a living wage employer for a long time and has, made that part of its values, but currently doesn't have the authority to direct private employers to do so. We can apply to get certified and others can apply to get certified. So the minimum wage discussion is it's a different universe of who would be affected. And I think the county as a living wage employer discussion is probably more immediate. We would be able to see results of that discussion, if we want to keep up with it and dealing with wage compression and, those kinds of questions. Whereas the minimum wage discussion is going to involve a lot more stakeholders, a lot more opinions, a lot more opposition. Having met with folks at the Chamber of Commerce and hearing, some of their concerns, for example, I can say that it's definitely not something that everybody thinks is feasible from the get-go.
And to your however long question, I can tell you, Tompkins County became the first living wage certified employer municipality in the U.S. in 2006.
Thank you. That was the same birth year as this very committee. Given that it's 11:58 a.m., I'm going to suggest that we move on from these topics. I think it would be a good idea to convene with the people I mentioned, Iris, Rob, John, Nick, Veronica, Irene, a working group at least once to charged with making a recommendation of what WDIC should do, if anything, around the topic of Tompkins County's living wage employer status. Separately, I think let's maybe set the minimum wage study aside until at least our next meeting or offline after tomorrow evening is convening, when more information will be had by all. The other high priority concrete item was reviewing protected classes within Tompkins County government, which, looking at the current status, seems like it would be quick to do. Irene, Iris, Chris, and me all definitely wanted to work on this. A few others were open to that. And then for open-ended items, maybe not necessarily clear what is the very next step, but again, we had the top priority workplace wellness, emotional health, and mental health discussion in conjunction with the Employment Engagement Committee. I know it sounds like the committee itself just had a very good meeting about that. So maybe some of us who weren't there can catch up offline and come back to this topic. Next highest priority, to the best I could order them, was retention and recognition of employees. Learning best practices about that and comparing that with our actual practices. So there, I think some learning and education is in order. I don't know, does anyone have right off the bat, like a place or person or group to look to about, oh, this is where we could learn what are current retention and recognition best practices, potentially separate from what it is that we do, because, you know, institutions take time to catch up. John?
Yeah, I would say Samantha is probably your natural fit on much of this. The other thing, though, I would recommend is there is a financial component on the recognition part that really, quite frankly, I'm aware of what has been presented to departments as far as recognition, what can and can't be done, and that's looking at it from a financial lens. But I would much prefer to understand more of that, because if you go looking for policy directives as far as what that is all about, I'm confused. So I think there's a finance component that lives within the recognition part as well.
I agree, and that's certainly come up a lot, and I think grounding possible decisions about the financial component of recognition in like evidence-based best practice would certainly be a good idea for the county. I do not know off the top of my head to what extent our financial decisions around recognition are grounded in best practice at the moment. We can learn that. After that, the defining or expanding the scope of workplace DEI work, and in particular as it pertains to LGBTQ plus issues, was kind of next on the priority list, and followed by just workplace culture in general, looking at who defines it, who sets it, how does this go, which is quite nebulous but was of interest to many people, and then some lower priority things. And we are already over time, so I don't think we're going to dive into these things right here, but does anyone have any comments or questions or thoughts about where, not just opining on these topics, but about what might be a good next step, thing to learn or do, or people to meet with? Irene and then John.
Yeah, I'll just jump on the one that I had advanced as an idea, and I was glad to hear that other people got on board with just providing more protections, workplace protections for various kinds of harassment. And I was thinking that, that seems to me like a pretty easy, straightforward. There's New York City already has these things built into their workplace harassment policies. To review that, to consult with Maury, and to consult with HR and see if there are any implications that I'm not aware of, if we move in this direction, does it cause any particular problems? I would doubt it. I think that its intent is to, provide a pathway if any of these problems are occurring, and to bring it forward as a resolution, maybe not next month, but the one after.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Assuming there are no issues with it, but.
Right. And maybe a good thing for next month would be, and we can
just talk
do
about
this
it.
by email. Yeah,
sure.
Like write up a memo of what classes are currently protected at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level, and then
sure,
what else is protected in New York City, just to have it all on the information in one place.
And even whether there's additional classes or groups that we would want to protect that New York City hasn't done.
Totally.
Yeah, sure.
John.
Yes. So let me defer real quick because you asked a specific question in a specific framework, and mine links back to an earlier item, which I have a question on. So if anybody else wishes to go, please do.
I am not seeing anyone at the moment.
All right. So linking back to the early discussion, as far as paid caregiver leave, one of the terms that I think we all use, and it was said, is that like management and confidential and those that live outside the bargaining unit follow the provisions of the white collar CBA. Is that a concept that was passed by the legislature in resolution at some point years ago? Or is that something that lives in an administrative policy? And the reason I ask is I've looked administratively, and although the concept lives in discussion, I cannot find specific language where that is codified anywhere. So I'm just curious, is it a concept that we all adhere to and has never been formalized, or was it something done many years ago by resolution?
I don't know. I'm not seeing anyone in the room seeming they know, but I had actually made myself a note already to find that out. So I'll link up with you offline. I'll start by asking Ruby because she would probably know and go from there. Yeah. All right. We are a bit over time and losing people. Any last things about priorities or committee members' reports? Tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Hope to see many of you. Irene?
Yeah, just wondering, can you send us a copy of the survey results that we talked about today? Great, thanks.
Yes. All right. Else going once, twice, thrice? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.